Modern commercial law is based on ancient Babylonian codes. In chapters 17 and 18 of Revelation in the Bible it is revealed that a particular religious jurisdiction is recognizable as a great prostitute who rules over the kings of the earth through the use of deception, magic, and merchants. This great prostitute who uses deceptive magic is clearly labeled therein as Babylon. With reference to such reputable modern textbooks as Historical Jurisprudence by Guy Carlton, Lee of Johns Hopkins University in 1922, Babylon's religious priesthood is commonly recognized as the source of modern, so-called laws of commerce. These laws of commerce are shown to be a specific body of codes, which authorize the administration of compelling force in efforts to uphold contracts, mostly for payments of debts. The ancient Babylonian priests were involved, because contracts were deemed to be a form of oath entered into by the contracting parties, and the approval of the gods were invoked so as to more effectively legitimize the entire process in the minds and the consciences of the contracting parties and all public witnesses. These Babylonian religious codes recognize the ability to buy and sell contracts between merchants in commerce. They bought and sold slaves and the souls of men in the time of Christ, and before and after. Under the system of Babylonian codes, contracted debtor people were forcibly compelled to perform the contract regardless of conscionability, or who was the contract creditor. This Babylonian religious commercial code embodied a subcodification which is modernly recognizable as master-servant relationships, which are also the source of modern employer-employee codes. This is all Babylonian religious code, whereunder temporary slavery is facilitated. People were not recognized as people thereunder, but were items in commerce. The slave could be arrested for not showing up for work on time. Textbooks say that the slave is not regarded or spoken of as a man, but as a thing, and is reckoned in the same way as cattle. Of these Rome was possessed from the earliest period. Quote, Historical Jurisprudence, Lee, History seems to tell that many Israelites had been captured into slavery in Babylon, but by the time of Christ Jesus, many had returned. The Babylonian commercial merchant code seemed to infect Israelite society at the same time, and to undermine greatly the godly principles of the Mosaic Law. The Pharisees had schools in Babylon from soon after 586 before the Christian era to the year 1040 after the Christian era 1626 years. Here J. H. Hertz, Chief Rabbi 1934, reveals the source of the material which is codified within their Babylonian Talmud. This is that source repository from which the modern Talmud draws its historical roots. J. H. Hertz, Chief Rabbi, and others of the same belief, are all comfortable referring to it amongst themselves as the Babylonian Talmud. He states, the style of the Babylonian Talmud is at no time easy reading. As the name signifies, the Babylonian Talmud contains much of the commercial slave trading mercantile codifications of master-servant relationships which originated in Babylon. The Babylonian Talmud refers to those, not of the Pharisaical faith as Gomogois, which translates to be human cattle. This is just as the textbooks refer to the Babylonians considering their slaves. Though direct citations are thin, in alluding it to slavery itself, the Babylonian Talmud has set forth some such evidence showing clearly that non-Pharisees are to be treated with all of the contempt of slaves. All things pertaining to the Goyim are like desert, the first person to come along and take them can claim them for his own. Bampa 45. It is permitted to deceive a Goy. Bampa 113b. And those citations are not clear, that this is directly from the Talmud. Pharisaical literature Tarot. Dipolum. p20 states tp.20 states the life of a Goy and all his physical powers belong to a Jew. And articles published by Henry Ford's newspaper, The Dearborn Independent in 1920-1922 discuss the Kol Nidre as a Pharisaical prayer, named from its opening words, all vows, Kol Nidre. It is based on the declaration of the Talmud. He who wishes that his vows and oaths shall have no value, stand up at the beginning of the year and say, all vows which I shall make during the year shall be of no value. Quote, the list goes on and on. Koch and others have defined these people as infidels, precisely because history has clearly shown to the more reputable men that the oath of such others means nothing to them. They cannot be bound by conscience, and they habitually light every turn which may serve their own self-serving interests, or those of their synagogue of Satan as referred to by Christ Jesus at Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. This is the nature of the law, among these would-be slave masters. They cannot be expected to be bound to tell the truth to those other people whom they feel entitled by the authority of their evil God, to control such unsuspecting other men as slaves. Such infidels were expelled from almost every country in Europe between the 13th and 15th centuries for this precise reason of their tenacious adherence to this Babylonian master-slave system of human conduct codes, and their relentless lying and deceit. The Sadducees apparently stood strong against this corrupting influence, but their days were numbered, for after the destruction of the temple by Rome in 70 AD, the religious belief system of the Sadducees had met genocide and extinction. The Pharisees, on the other hand, were conspicuously left in the position of authority over all Jews who did not profess Christianity. The Jewish Encyclopedia, 1905 page 665, shows that the ancient religion of the Pharisees have been in continuous total control of what is fashionably recognized as the Jewish religion, ever since the destruction of Solomon's temple. With the destruction of their temple, henceforth, Jewish life was regulated by the teachings of the Pharisees. Pharisaism shaped the character of Judaism, and the life and thought of the Jew for all the future. With the extinction of the Sadducees, the only Jewish entity which thereafter stood in opposition to the Pharisees, and their Babylonian codified Talmud were the Christians. The powers in Rome were compromised by this influence. As revealed elsewhere, this religion of the Pharisees continues to this day under their self-proclaimed banner of Judaism or Jews. They are not true Jews, but rather they are of the synagogue of Satan, precisely as Revelation 2:9 and 3:9 state. They merely proclaim such out of strategy to effect their purpose. Approximately 85% of them are not even of the Semitic bloodline, but rather are of Ashkenazi background/race. They adopted the Pharisaical Babylonian Talmudian religion in about the year 350 or so, out of convenience. They know this, but they scream anti-Semite with spine-chilling fervor whenever it suits their evil agenda. Modern descendants of these same Pharisees look to the same Babylonian Talmud code of master/slave laws as the principal source for written guidance as a code of conduct for their lives. Textbooks show plainly that Rome is the source of English and American civil law. Civil law is recognized in Black's Law Dictionary as synonymous with municipal law. Rome is well recognizable as an aggressively warring and conquering nation. Textbooks say that the conquered cities were compelled to pay the war tax. A town mistreated was known as a municipum, or burden holder. Many of the conquered peoples were reduced to slaves. The Roman merchants engaged in much slave trade. They established slave markets. Contracts exchanged hands among merchants for the delivery of slaves. The codes which govern these contracts for slaves was based on the same codes which the Babylonians had developed. Of these Rome was possessed from the earliest period. Historical jurisprudence, Lee. Such Babylonian master/sav, so-called law is modernly still recognizable under either term of civil or municipal law. The majority of reputable biblical scholars recognize Rome to be the sixth head of the seven-headed beast described in Revelation, upon which the great prostitute sat, and which was in existence at that time of Christ, the civil/military government of Rome. The seventh head is similarly recognized as then prophesying of our modern Anglo-American civil/military government. Norman Conquest. The Norman, French, conquest over the Anglo-Saxon/Celtic people of England in 1066 is vastly underrated in its significance to understanding modern considerations of good government. From Rome, it had the solemn blessings of the Pope. The Pharisaical system of Babylonian Talmudian-based commercial law was at that time forcibly imposed over the Christian common law English people. An article in the Georgetown Law Journal v. 71, p. 1179-1200, The Shetter's Effect on English Law by Judith A. Shapiro sheds much light. The Jews, whom the Normans brought to England, brought a refined system of commercial law, their own form of commerce and a system of rules to facilitate and govern it. Several elements of historical Jewish legal practice have been integrated into the English legal system. Notable among these is the written credit agreement, sheter, or star, as it appears in English documents. The basis of the sheter, or Jewish gauge, was a lien on all property, including realty, that has been traced as a source of modern mortgage. Under Jewish law, the sheter permitted a creditor to proceed against all the goods and land of the defaulting debtor. Jewish law that debts could be recovered against a loan secured by all property, movable and immovable, was a weapon of socio-economic change that tore the fabric of feudal society and established the power of liquid wealth in place of land holding. Jewish law, wherein personal debt superseded rights in real property, had become the law of the land. Footnote 11. H.